Okay, welcome to the webinar. I'm Aaron Heinem, and this webinar is entitled DryLINK Asset Manager plus End of Year Special. And at the end, we'll get to what the special is. I'm going to focus on DryLINK Asset Manager, but if we have time, we'll get a little bit into remote monitoring, but mainly the focus is DryLINK Asset Manager. A few housekeeping things are if you can use the chat for any questions, I will try and keep an eye on it and answer as I go. Um, if not, we have a Q&A at the end, and I will answer all questions at the end that I haven't answered during the presentation. And just a little bit about me. I've worked for Thermistor for 14 years. I'm the Senior Director of Product Management. I've always loved technology and innovation, and that is what has led me to DryLink and specifically here, DryLink Asset Manager. Okay, then I just wanted to go over the agenda here. So we're going to start with the DryLink Asset Manager overview. I want to talk about specific problems that we're solving in your business. Then I'm going to talk about the advantages that DryLink Asset Manager brings over other systems. Then we'll do a kind of system overview to try and explain how this asset manager system works. I'm going to talk to you about the integrations that we have and the partnerships that we have with DryLink Asset Manager. And then I'm going to do a live demo, and I want you to be able to see the system, and I want to walk through what it can do so you can see it live. Then I'm going to show you the things that are currently in development with TriLink Asset Manager, and then we'll get to the pricing and how to buy, and then I will tell you what the end of year special is. And then, if time allows, we'll do a little bit of remote monitoring. I just want to touch on that if I can, but we're going to try and keep the whole thing, including the Q&A, to 45 minutes tops. And then I will talk about the future and a slide on getting started, and then I'll get to the Q&A. Okay, so we'll get started here. Starting with problems that we are solving. Um, So billing for all equipment on a job, this is something we found out pretty quickly that if you're keeping track of where all your equipment is, sometimes the technicians go to a job site and they may forget to write down all the serial numbers of the equipment that they put on that job or the names of the equipment. And you might end up finding that you're shorting your company by not billing for all the equipment that was on a job. So this is a pretty big one where you can pay for the system pretty quickly just through this. The reduced need for taking physical inventory counts. We can export the inventory at any time, and you'll have the names of the equipment, the serial numbers, and everything you need. Um, Reducing equipment left behind at job sites. And I'm going to show you how you can use the system to help with that, to reduce this problem. You can get better equipment utilization. We're working on a dashboard that's actually going to show you your utilization in real time. It could help you understand if you need to buy equipment of a certain type. Knowing the location of your vehicles and also the assets on them. So this is a big one. If you have an incoming call and things are busy, where is the closest vehicle and does it have the right assets on it to service this account? You can also locate labeled assets, and I will get into what labels are. This is something unique that we have. You can put one or more labels on any piece of equipment, and then you can search by that, and I'll get into that when we get to that section of the presentation. And then obviously finding lost equipment. So these are problems in your business that we can help solve. Now, what are the advantages to DryLink itself versus other systems? Well, a big one is we have technology built into the equipment. For example, our newest dehumidifier, DryMax XL Pro, the asset tracking is built in. So you just put two AA batteries on the display board and you don't need to buy a tag. Also, when you look at the Air Max BLE, the tag is already coming with the equipment. Makes it much easier to load into the system because all of our equipment is already loaded in our cloud. So when it contacts our cloud, it knows what it is and it can help load it into the system. We have historical vehicle route mapping that I'm going to show you so that you can go back in time and see where your vehicles have been. And in fact, we have an option on there where you can set amount of time. So if a vehicle stops for X amount of minutes, we can flag that. We put a stop sign on the map so that you can see not only where the vehicles are going, but at a glance when a vehicle is stopped for more than a certain amount of time. We also have the same kind of idea for assets where we have this history mapping to help you understand where they've been. We have many integrations with many different partners that I'll talk about. We have automation, which I'll get into more, but the idea is if you're just using asset tracking, we can automatically add equipment to jobs, remove equipment from jobs. We keep track of what's on your jobs automatically with automation. Another benefit is if you get into DryLink Asset Manager, it includes DryLink jobs. So if you decide in the future, hey, I want to do remote monitoring, there isn't an additional cost to the subscription. It's already included. And then again, this idea of equipment labels is a big one that I'll show you how that works. Okay, for the system overview, this just shows you that you need something that's transmitting a signal, and that is this dry tag. And also dry tag RH. This would be also an asset tracking beacon that does temp and RH. You would put this on a non-smart dehumidifier if what you're trying to do is eventually get readings. Otherwise, if you're just doing asset tracking, you can go with the dry tag. And in fact, we have a less expensive tag called dry tag AM or dry tag asset manager, and it's less expensive than the dry tag. It doesn't have the accelerometer that the dry tag has. That accelerometer is good for telling you if equipment is turned off or on, keeps track of it's off or on by having that accelerometer. That's a feature that you'd want to get if you want to do remote monitoring at some point. Then something has to receive the signal these are putting out. Mainly, it's this mobile gateway. This mobile gateway needs to go in your warehouse. It needs to go in your vehicles, and this is going to do most of the reading. But your employees' phones, if they have DryLink open, will read these tags and update locations and geolocate and timestamp. Same thing with a dry phone. This is something that's used for remote monitoring, but all these devices here can receive signals from the devices that are sending. And then, oh, one thing I wanted to point out here, we this says end of August. Actually, these gateways are shipping with SIMs that can be used in the US or Canada. It is a worldwide SIM. We're currently only active in US and Canada. You can travel from Canada to the US and the same SIM card will still work. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so this is just kind of a basic idea of what the system can do. First of all, the gateway has batteries on it, so you can put it in an offsite storage with no power. But mainly, you want it hooked to power in your vehicles for sure. And I want to point out, I'm going to put some resources in the chat at the end, but your vehicles, the gateways need to be hooked up to the switched circuit in the vehicle, which means we need to know when you turn the vehicle on and when you turn the vehicle off. That's a trigger that's going to initiate scans. So that's an important thing to know about how the vehicles need to be hooked up. I mean, how the gateways need to be hooked up in the vehicles. You need a gateway in your warehouse. And then what happens is when the vehicle goes into the geofence of a job, and the geofence is just a line, and it's like an imaginary line that's drawn around the location of the job. So when the truck crosses this geofence, it knows that it's now at a job. And this is where we can start making decisions about, we can see what was on the truck when you went into this geofence, and we can see what's on the truck when you went out of the geofence, and we can make adjustments to what you put on the job or took off the job. Another thing I wanted to point out is when the vehicles go to the warehouse and inside the warehouse geofence, we show it as a last scan on vehicle one, but we show it as at the warehouse. And the reason we show that is because we know that a lot of trucks sometimes come inside of a warehouse and they might offload the equipment. It goes to a cleaning station. Maybe it's put on the rack. Maybe it's put back in a different vehicle. There's a bunch of gateways. They're all reading these tags. So it's hard to know exactly what happened to that equipment and which truck it might be on now. So just know that when you go inside the warehouse geofence, it shows as at the warehouse. But we do show the last scan, meaning which gateway read it last. We do have the ability with an antenna kit to read the inside of a tractor trailer. We can read it, all the equipment. We've done it stacked floor to ceiling, so we can do that. And this is basically the, the essence of the system. And just to be clear, the system doesn't have, it's not find my iPhone. If you're not at a job, you're not on a vehicle, and you're not in a warehouse, you're at a location that we don't know what it is. So we're going to mark it with a question mark. And I'll show you how that looks in the future here. Okay, as far as integrations, we have current integrations within Circle, iRestore, Restoration Manager, Exact Analysis. We have partnerships with Contractor Connection. We're a preferred provider there. We have the Chuck DeWald E3 program built into our app. That doesn't have to do with asset tracking. These have to do with DryLINK jobs. And then we're currently testing. We have an integration with ServPro. We're just waiting for them to straighten out a few things. PSA, we're currently, whoops, apologize, currently beta testing here. And we're working with Albiware to get that going hopefully soon. So that's a list of our integration partners. Um, we also have a partnership with a company called Azuga. They do front and rear facing cameras. There's a lot of benefits to that. If we already have vehicle tracking, but if you need the cameras as part of it, we have a partnership with them and some good pricing there as well. Okay, so now I want to move to the web portal demonstration. So I'm just going to switch here to my browser. And what I want to do is I'm going to start, see this jobs tab. This is currently where you go. You go to the jobs tab when you log into our web portal. Most of the asset manager functions are under the asset manager tab. You have tagged assets and vehicle history, and I'm going to show you that stuff in a minute, but I want to start by showing you where you log in. Now, the thing that's important to know with asset manager is we need to know the jobs so that we know how to put the equipment on the jobs, especially if you're doing automation. So, because what would happen is if you did asset tracking and you didn't tell us anything about your jobs, we would keep track of where the equipment is, but it would be a bunch of question marks on the map because we didn't know where it is. So you can get the jobs into the system either through an integration partner, like I showed the ones that we have integrations with, or you can hit add job, and it's pretty straightforward to add a job into the system, and then you would just hit save. I'm not going to do that, but it's pretty easy. So at any rate, that's what this page is for. You can see here that if you have an exclamation point, it's saying automatic. So this company has automation turned on. And yeah, let me change to map view so you can get a little idea where we're at here. They have an overlapping geofence, meaning two jobs that are so close together that we can't auto assign equipment. Now, if that happens, where you got like let's say you got a high rise and you got two jobs stacked on top of each other, we can't figure out which job you're on, so we flag it. Then somebody would have to go into the job. If you want to keep the system all up to date, you'd go to the equipment tab and assign equipment. And you can just go in here and tell it. You can search or you can filter by types. And basically, you just tell it what equipment you want to add to the job. So that's basically what I wanted to show you for now on the Jobs tab. If we have time later, I'll get a little bit more into this as it relates to remote monitoring. We'll see if we have time for that. Okay, so now I want to move to the tagged asset screen. This is the main screen that is used for asset tracking. And I'm gonna switch this. This is a satellite view. We have two different views, satellite and map view. I'm gonna switch to the map view, and I'm going to zoom in here. Let this come in. Okay. So here you can see I'm going to take the vehicles uh, off. Actually, I'm going to move to a different account because I want to show you what a service center looks like. So I'm sorry, I'm going to move to a different account and go to tagged assets. Same type of idea. Put the map on. And the reason I wanted to show you this account is because I know they have a service center. And so I'm going to take the vehicles off of the map. So we only have the facilities. And you can see here is their warehouse, and down here is their service center. This just happens to be John Don. Now, what's kind of cool about this is we also create a geofence for service centers. And what we will do is if your vehicle drives to the service center, just like a job, we'll automate that process. So if the truck goes to the service center with 5 pieces of equipment and it leaves with none, then we will say 5 units are at the John Don Service Center, and we will mark them as in maintenance, so they will no longer be available. You can see, over here, these are the locations of the equipment, so facilities, vehicles, jobs. And then over here is the status of the equipment. So is it available to go on another job? Is it already on a job? Missing would be we haven't scanned it by anything in more than X amount of days, then we've put the status as missing. And maintenance is the status when you go to the service centers. You can also manually put something in maintenance. So here we just have the service centers. Now, if I click on the warehouse, you're going to see you get a nice little detail here. Shows how many dehumidifiers, how many air movers, air scrubbers, and other is a catch-all for any other categories. I'll show you what all the categories look like in a minute. So that's what that looks like. To get that off, you just click the same thing again. Now I'm going to put the vehicles on here. You're going to see the map moved out. If you want, you see this pin here. If you don't want your map to resize, you can click this pin and it will no longer resize automatically. Also, just while I'm here, if you want a full screen of a map, you go like this and the map will fill in. So that's how you get full screen view. Okay, so I'll go back out of there. That's what these are. And you have this map view that shows roads, and then you have the satellite view. Now I want to show you something kind of cool about the satellite view. And I'm going to move over here to these cards. So here's our locations. We're looking at facilities and vehicles. I don't have jobs on the map yet. And right now we're looking at view locations on the map. So all of the facilities and vehicles are on this map. If I turn this off, view locations in map, you're going to see that we have none. Now, if I want to see where the V19 box truck is right now, I can just click on this one and it's going to zoom in and show me where it is right now. And I can just do that again and move over to V3. We'll see where V3 is. We're updating the GPS location every 30 seconds. So that's the level of resolution that we have on this. So you can easily just go through and click through and see exactly where these vehicles are in a zoomed in kind of way, or we can go back and put them all on the map. And when I go to this zoomed out view, I usually like the map view at that point because I get some streets and cities and things for reference so I can see on a bigger picture where they're at. Now, any of these icons that I click on, I can either click on the vehicle itself and find out this has no equipment on it, or I can go over to the card over here. You see where this one says equipment, this doesn't have an equipment tab. That means if I click on this one, zero equipment. That's why it doesn't have this equipment button. If I click on the V19 box truck we were just looking at, they got 4 dehumidifiers, 9 air movers, and 2 air scrubbers. So that's what this is for. Now, I'm going to put jobs on the map as well. Uh, by default, okay, the reason why no job showed up is because I'm only showing available equipment. So I got to put equipment that's on a job. So now all the jobs come in. So here's where all the jobs are. It's kind of the same deal. You can click on it and it's going to take you to, it's put a red box around the one you got. This is Ken Johnson. He's got one air mover, two air scrubbers on that job. So that's, what that looks like. Again, you click here and it goes away. Um, and these are just all the jobs. Now, if you look here, there's right now we're showing all jobs. Sometimes you have completed jobs on here, and the circle instead of being green would be gray. I don't think we have any. Yeah, we don't have that on this. Now, why would we have a completed job with equipment on it? Well, that's because, like, you might know why. It might be that the job just closed and you just haven't picked up the equipment yet. But it's a signal that you should probably look into it to find out, hey, I have a closed job with equipment on it. Uh, do I know that? And if I do, should I pick that equipment up? Okay, so I'm going to take the jobs off again, just to kind of have less stuff on the map. And I'm going to click on this unnamed tab. This means that I get some question marks on this map. Now, why is this? This is because we have an integration that's in beta testing and all the jobs aren't coming through properly. So if you didn't put any jobs in the system, this is kind of what it would look like. You'd have all these question marks where we would say, hey, there's equipment there, but you didn't tell us there's a job. So that's what that is about. Okay. So, and then, you can also look at missing and maintenance as statuses of equipment. Now I'm going to move to just talking about the search functions here. Right now we're searching by location. So if I wanted, I can type in, B19 or whatever I want to type in for a location. You can also go by equipment. So you can pick a specific asset. It'll select everything. And then what'll happen is, let's say I want to find this focus axle. If I click just one unit, oh, that's funny, I didn't get it. Let me try another unit. Let's try this Air Max. Okay, so that's at the warehouse. So this is what happened. It showed me one air mover. It's 02888 is located there. So you can go through the units and find out where they're located by piece of equipment. Okay, I'm going to go back to location, other search functionality, address, city, state. This label one is an interesting one. And what I'm going to show you here is that, um, like this says Isuzu number 5. Now, I don't know if this label doesn't appear to be functioning right now, but when you add a label, you can filter by it. So think of, for example, let's say I loaned 20 pieces of equipment to another uh, restorer, and I put a label on that equipment when I gave it to him that said loan to Joe. Then I could go in here and select my loan to Joe. He says, Joe said I gave them all back to you. Now I'm going to go check and I'm going to click on loan to Joe and I'm going to see where those 20 are. And if I don't see 20 of them, they should be in my warehouse. If they're not, I got to call Joe and say, hey, I didn't get them all back. There's still one missing and it's not in my system. So that's how you can use the labels. And I'll show you where you can go to you know, I'll show you where you can go to add labels and remove labels and things like that. Now, there's one more thing I want to show you on the screen, and this is called table view. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the vehicles off. We'll just go with the facilities, just keep it. Well, no, we'll keep the vehicles on. It'll be more interesting. So if I click on the table view, now we get a view where we have all the locations the same as we did before, but now instead of a map, we have it broken down by Xactimate category. And you can add your own categories to this, and then you'll get it in this table type of view. You can see in the home office here, 715 total piece of equipment. Here's the breakdown of what they have. And up at the top is a summary of all of the equipment here in this table view. So the table view is useful when you need summaries and totals, and the map view is not useful when you need to know where exactly stuff is. So that's table view. Okay. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is vehicle history. So if I go to vehicle history, what you're going to get is we're going to go to a map again. Now this is just pick the first vehicle and today, but I'll show you that I'm going to go find a vehicle that I know goes out. So let's just go with V12 ProMaster, and then it's going to show me what it's done today. And I'm going to go back in time to show you what that looks like. So this is kind of your vehicle tracking that you're going to get. We can look at today's. So if I zoom in a little bit here, or zoom out, I guess, you can see this vehicle's here. Let's put the map so we can see on the highway. So this is where they've gone, went to three jobs, stopped here, so you can zoom in on any of this stuff if you want to know, like, okay, where did they stop? Whoops, sorry, pushing the wrong button here. I can zoom in and, at some point you might want to go to satellite if you want to know where somebody stopped. You might get some more references here. Uh, there's the stop sign. Uh, okay, we'll see where they went. So the vehicle was stopped here, and as soon as it loads in, we can. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know exactly where that was, but that's where it stopped. So that's the idea. It's this vehicle history, and we're keeping track of everywhere that the truck goes and putting the dots on a map for you. Here's kind of and again, they're every 30 second. So that's the kind of history that we have with vehicle history. We have the same kind of idea with assets. So I'm going to click on this equipment tab, and in here, I'm going to find an asset. I'm going to look for one that's on a job here. So I know that it's gone somewhere. So we'll go here and we'll go, and you can see that it gives me where it was last read by this V4 Transit. But if I click on this asset history, it's going to give me all of so I'm going to go the last 100 scans and we'll see where it's been. We get scans fairly frequently when it's in the warehouse, so sometimes 100 scans is only a few days. So this looks like was at the home office for almost every single scan, and then it was just scanned when it was put on a job. So that's all we have for that one. Maybe let me see if I can find another asset and get you a little more history than that. Let's see here. Well, let's go with the dehumidifier and see if we got any more history here. Yeah, this one's got a little more history to it. So on 10/15, it was scanned by a truck at a job. That makes sense, probably dropping it off. So this is kind of the history of that asset. Okay, so that is the equipment history. Now I want to go to just the equipment tab itself. I'm going to switch over here. Go to the equipment tab. I'm going to clear this filter of on job. So the equipment tab is just all your inventory in a single, each piece of equipment has an entry. And I just want to show you all the things we have here. So we have the equipment name, we have the serial number. General type is like dehumidifiers, air movers, air scrubbers, and other. We're going to change so that right now when you select other, it says other, but in the future, we're going to put like more precisely what that is. I'm not sure exactly so for example, if it's a mat, we're going to say it's a mat or whatever you have instead of other. This is the battery strength here. Dry tag UUID is just an identifier for the Bluetooth. This gives you the location, and you can search by any of this stuff. You can see this one's in the Boston warehouse. This unit here, it's available. Address coordinates. There's a map that'll show you any one asset where it's at right now. And then you can see this company uses labels for locations. So if you want to know what's in Boston, got 608 pieces of equipment with a Boston label on it. So that's how they're using labels. You get the last read time and last user. You can see this was read by the Boston Warehouse Gateway, 12/18, 9:46 p.m. or a.m. So that makes sense. Last job it was on. model, capacity, all these types of things. And you can see up here we have this idea of manage columns. So you can go in here and you can, if you don't want to see the serial number, turn it off. If you want to move it, it's not important to you, move it down there. And all of this will be saved in your browser history. So different people in your company can have different customized views for this. And anywhere you see manage columns, you can do that. You can also hit export CSV. It's going to export the entire file. If I do that here, it'll come in, it'll open up in Excel, and I can do whatever I want with the file. So we have that feature as well. And then there's a lot of other things you can do in here. If I select some equipment, you'll see that, let's see here. I need to figure out, let's see, I can't quite get to, oh yeah. Okay, you see how this, I wish I could, just one moment. I got to move something that's part of the zoom out of my way. Okay, so here you can see we have, I can assign these two pieces of equipment I selected. That would mean assign to a job. I can manage labels, so I could add or remove labels to these two pieces of equipment. I can let the system know that I'm changing the batteries on the dry tags, and I can mark them in and out of service. If I mark them in and out of service, it's going to say, do I want them in maintenance or do I want them lost? Lost means you won't normally see it in your inventory. However, we will still uh, watch and see if this ever shows up in our cloud again. And lost, like for example, if somebody stole one of your dehumidifiers that was one of ours, a smart one, and tried to sell it on eBay or something, what would happen is if you marked it lost, if it ever pinged in again, we would update the geolocation. So, if somebody bought it, they might say, "Oh, look at this has the DryLINK app. I'm going to try that," and it would hit our cloud with the geolocation. Now, it would still be up to you to figure out how to get it back, but if it pings in, we will let you know. And you can also delete equipment. So these are some of the things that you can do uh, in the equipment tab of DryLink Asset Manager. And, we have an add equipment tab here. Now, I want to move over to the settings tab and just show you a few things here. We have, I'm not going to get into all of them, but here's automation. You have to call us to get this turned on. This company has it turned on because we need to make sure your gateways are installed correctly before we turn that on. Here's where you enter your team members into DryLink. You can do it in the app as well. Under gateways and locations, this is where you go to register the gateways and tell us what vehicle the gateways are on and things like that. So you can see these are their different facilities. Here's all their gateways and the names and where they're registered to. I do want to show you, we are going to fix this so you don't have to scroll over, but this column here, last power event weekly and GPS gaps weekly, this helps to make sure the gateways are working correctly. You can see when the last scans are. If the last, they really should be every hour, unless they're not under power, then it would be every 6 hours. So like this one probably isn't going anywhere. This is probably just sitting at the office and probably will scan pretty soon here. But this is what these all look like. Okay. And then labels. Labels, this is just, you can add a label, you can search for labels, delete. I think the add is down here. So if you add a label, you can just type in anything you want, and that'll be your label. And then it'll be available back in that screen I just was on, where you can say, hey, add this label to the equipment. You can add more than one label. Then integrations. Here's where we have our active integrations. And then the subscriptions tab just shows you what subscriptions are available. So that's what the settings tab looks like. And with that, I'm going to move back to the presentation. Um, and I wanted to show you this dashboard. So this dashboard is currently under development, so it's not live now, but I just want to walk through this. This is to help people manage that are using Asset Manager. We're collecting information for you, pointing things out. So what we have over here is these things have to do with jobs. So active jobs with equipment, we're just letting you know how many you have. And then active jobs with no equipment. Now, why would that be? Well, maybe we entered a job, but no one's got there yet. No one's arrived with the equipment yet. So active jobs with no equipment. Just letting, that's just information. Jobs longer than X amount of days. So you can set this parameter if you want to be notified if jobs are taking too long, or, at least bring them to your attention to make sure that you understand that this job has been active for a certain amount of time. And then jobs with overlapping geofences. That's the one I told you before, where if we have a high rise with two separate jobs, we're just letting you know you've got some jobs. And all of these will be clickable. So if you click on this, it's going to take you and show you the active jobs of the equipment. So all of these will put the right filters on to make the map show up in asset tracking to show you these things. Equipment utilization, this is the equipment side of the page. Equipment utilization will show you a total number, and then we'll show you a breakdown by dehumidifiers, air movers, air scrubbers, and other. It's just showing you utilization within that category. Then this is equipment at an active job but not assigned. If you have automation turned on, you'll never get this. But if you're doing DryLINK jobs, it could be that somebody took some equipment to a job, but they didn't actually go on the app and assign it. So there's equipment sitting in a job, but it's not currently assigned. Untagged equipment. We're just telling you we're not tracking these assets because if they're not tagged, there's no way for us to track them. We just bring it to your attention. Warehouse equipment unscanned more than, we're actually going to change this to probably 3 hours. Basically, the idea here is we want to let you know right away if something is being scanned in the warehouse and then all of a sudden disappears. So it didn't go on a truck. We don't know where it went. So why would that happen? Well, let's say somebody took some assets in a vehicle that doesn't have a gateway. And maybe you know that. Maybe let's say you lent some equipment to an employee that had a water loss at their own house. So they just took it in their car or something. Well, you would probably want to put a label on there, lent them to whoever it is, and then it would show up as unscanned because it disappeared from the warehouse, and we don't know why. So this kind of keeps track of stuff in your warehouse for you. It's possible if you didn't change a battery and the battery died, it would also show up here. So that's possible too. Equipment currently on vehicles not located at the warehouse. We're just trying to say you're not, your vehicles that are out in the field, what do you got available for an incoming job? And if you click on this, we'll show you those vehicles on the map. Here they are. The ones that have equipment on them on the map. Here they are. Equipment left behind at a completed job. I talked about that before. The icon would be the jobs icon, but instead of green, it would be gray. Whoops. Apologize for that. Uh, um, then stranded equipment. Stranded equipment is what I showed you. And we have information buttons for some of these that are need a little explanation. Stranded equipment means we have that exclamation point or that question mark, I mean, and the question mark is like, hey, this looks like it's just sitting out in the middle of nowhere. What is this? Is this a job? Why is this here? That'd be stranded equipment. Missing equipment more than 5 days. This is X amount of days. This just means there could be a reason for this. Like if you put it on a job and no one has scanned it in 5 days and the job's taking longer than 5 days, there could be a valid reason for this, but we just let you know. And then this would be vehicles with gateway issues. So this would be something is wrong. We're not getting the power up and power downs when you turn it on and off, or we're getting gaps in the GPS. We're just trying to let you know, hey, maybe something is wrong here. So this is kind of the idea of the dashboard view here. Okay. Um, and then this is just another thing in development. I'm not going to get too much into this, but it's the idea that we're going to have a table view for jobs. So when you're on that first page that I showed you that had a map, you'll also get a table like this. Okay, now I'm kind of running out of time, so I'll get this moving here. Here's our new pricing on devices. Whoop, sorry. Uh, New pricing on devices. You can see MSRP in bulk. This is for dry tag AM. That's the asset manager only. Bulk quantities are 1,000. Here's pricing for dry tag that has the accelerometer inside of it. These are items used for remote monitoring. Here's the mobile gateway pricing. This is the fee for the gateway data. So each gateway has a data plan on it. That's the only way this works. Uh, so one to 14 gateways, you're going to be paying 20 a month. If you have more than 15 gateways, you're going to pay 18 a month. And then we have this kit for antennas for semis. Here's our subscription charges, just so you know. So DryLink Asset Manager, which includes DryLink jobs, it depends how many assets you have in the system. If you have 0 to 999, it's $99 a month. And like I said, if you decide to use remote monitoring in the future, DryLink jobs is included in that price. Okay. And then where and how to buy your local distributor. You can buy through them. If you're a Servpro franchise, you need to go to Servpro Corporate. And then we do have a Phoenix web shop, and I am going to put more information in the chat, resources with links if you want to copy them if you're interested. But you can see on our web page, there's just a thing on the top that says shop. Um, okay, so I recommend professional installation if you're going to do this. We have a company called Velocity that we work with nationwide. These prices are good in the lower 48 states. We do have pricing in other areas. It's 180 per gateway, $5 per tag, and there's a trip fee of $295, and they will work after hours. So this is a professional company that does technology installations nationwide that we partner with, and this is part of our special offer. Our special offer, valid through the end of this year, free professional installation of gateways. So we will pay the $180 per gateway if you choose. You just would have to pay the trip charge, which is $295. And if you want them to install tags, that's a different charge too. That's $5 a tag. We would pay the 180 per gateway. Or you can choose 6 months of DryLink Asset Manager subscription value of 99 per month or more. That does not include the subscription of the gateways. That's the 20 or 18 a month that I was talking about. That would be an additional charge. So that's the special. If you want to use that, it's good through the end of the year. I don't have time to get into DryLink remote monitoring. Just know that we have it. Happy to talk about it with anybody if you'd like to, but just don't have time in this webinar. This is kind of what you get. You can see a job. Here's affected area readings. And then here's what a dehumidifier looks like when you can see all of the data coming in. And then in the future, you can look for long range connection, which is probably going to include LoRa. We're going to have all Phoenix equipment is going to be smart. Rechargeable batteries wired into the equipment. This is long range future. Some of this stuff is not so long range. We got a new mobile app with offline mode and step-by-step instructions on how to use it. This idea of managed by exception and rental equipment. These are all future things that we have coming. And here's how you get started. You can contact your Phoenix sales rep. Installation is critical to success. Understand all requirements first. I'm going to put the information in the chat for you here in just a second. Remote monitoring, we have YouTube help videos, and just understand what you need to buy before you get started. Okay, so with that, I'm actually going to stop sharing and put the resources. I have some questions coming in. Let me just copy these DryLink resources into the chat, and then I will answer questions. Let's see. Okay. All right, so I put all these links in the chat for anybody interested. And now I'm going to get to the Q&A. Okay, first one I got. Will it work with Dash? Dash, we have had meetings with, but we do not have an integration done. So they have said they're going to do it. We've met, but I don't even have a timeline for you yet. They seem to move a little slowly, but it is our intention to have an integration with Dash. Next question. DryMax XL has Bluetooth ability, but not asset management ability. That's correct. And let me explain that. When we came out with DryMax XL, we weren't thinking about asset management yet. So we were just thinking about remote monitoring. So the Bluetooth radio, when you unplug it, it goes off. So we realized that asset management could be a part of this without having to buy a tag. And that's why on the XL Pro, we've added that feature. So moving forward, any dehumidifiers that we launch will have this built in. Let's see here. If we already have DryLink Asset Manager, are we able to still take advantage of the special? Well, if you're going to make a new purchase, then yes, that would be the answer. Can we get this webinar recording sent to us? Yes, I will send this webinar recording out to everybody um, on this that signed up for this webinar. Oh, oh, somebody's saying the chat is disabled, so I cannot see your links. Um, I will send out all the link. I did not realize that. I apologize. I will send out the links by email to everyone that signed up for this webinar. Apologize for that. Another one saying the same thing. Where can we get more information on reporting, readings, and reports? Um, you can reach out to me. Let's see. I think I can. So let's see. Answer live. Type answer. Let me see here. I'm going to just put my email address in here. Hopefully this works. Hit send. So hopefully. I don't know if that went to everybody or just to the person that asked. You can reach out to me. It's eheinum@thermistore.com. And again, I'm going to send out all of this after the webinar. Uh, what is the purpose of the dry phone? Does it input readings or just collect data and send to the cloud? The purpose of the dry phone is only has to do with remote monitoring, and it's really a hotspot. It just sits there and gathers the readings and sends them to the cloud. Uh, what if I literally just paid 2,000 for 10 gateways to be installed last weekend? Reimbursement? Uh, I'll answer you. Let's see here. Unfortunately, these things sometimes happen when you have specials. I just reach out to me directly after the webinar. Uh, who can I talk to about the different plans and getting pricing? You can reach out to your Phoenix salesperson. You can reach out to me directly. Again, I will type my email address in there. I can help you out myself. Okay. Uh, any more? Let's see. Any more questions? All right. Well, I want to thank everybody. Just know that you can reach out to me directly at any time. It's eheinum@thermistore.com. I will send out the recording. I will send out the resources, and I'm available to answer questions. And I really want to thank everybody for your time today. And I look forward to working with you if you're looking to get going with either DryLink Asset Manager or remote monitoring. And thank you, everybody.